I've got big balls.
That's gonna be the intro. Like it's gonna be a hard cut. You just turn on going, I got big balls. It's gonna say preview underneath.
That's awesome.
So Alexza DeCroix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody turn your Alexas off because we're gonna be saying the name Alexa a lot here.
I do not have it.
Okay. But maybe the kiddies at home do.
Oh yeah, y'all out there do that.
So someone told me you're gonna maybe it was you that you're gonna form a class action lawsuit with other Alexas suing Amazon for
Don't put that
copyright
out
infringement.
there.
Yeah. That's bold. I'll get behind you. If you can get enough Alexas on that.
I think that would be it could be a really cool thing. They have a lot of money.
Yeah. The only drawback is you're Alexa with a Z. So
Yeah.
which is cool though. That's cooler.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because it sounds the same. So it's like when somebody says it to the AI thing, it sounds like my name.
We just gotta enunciate the Z. Alexa.
Yeah, I mean you can. I mean I never have.
That's clunky.
But
Alex,
you can say it however you want.
can I call you Alexza?
Yeah.
And then your last name is DeCroix, which
Yeah.
always reminds me of LaCroix. Sweet.
Hmm.
Spelled way differently though.
Yeah.
Every time I
The
type in your
cross,
name,
right?
every time I type in
What?
your name anywhere, it's I just get the red squigglies. It's just like that is not a name. And I type in weird things in my
You
typing.
type in weird things in
Well,
your
no, not like that. I meant like things that it should be like that's the wrong word, but your name it's like no, no, no. That's wrong. I'm like
well, if you
that's right.
search me, you'll find a really weird video that's been on YouTube since I was in New York City, which I wish I could get rid of, but everything on the internet stays on the internet.
So, are you telling that to the followers here at MC War the Light to go look you up and find that video, or are we
I
gonna?
mean, they can. I don't like that video. It was a long time ago. And
We
it
all
was
grow.
and they put an effect, like there's some kind of weird video effect where it blurs right here. So it's just a really weird
Hmm.
video. Yeah.
Is it? Were you like topless or like? Is there?
No, 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 no. This was like literally I was a part of a thing called the, believe it or not, the Beehive Collective.
Hmm.
And which is weird, because now I live in an apiary, and B is my nickname, but this is way before all of that.
It
And
was destined.
it
It was meant to
they
be.
did a video like, where he was just like kind of interviewing me, and I haven't looked at it in a long time. I can't remember what I said in it. Um, but I just think it's interesting that there's this like old random video out there, of me,
Well,
um,
after this recording,
with
there'll
a
be
weird
another weird
effect on
one.
it. Well, I mean, I am generally pretty weird and you're pretty weird, so
Perfect. Weird twins
let's get
activate.
weird
Let's
together.
get yeah. Let's get weird and do weird things. I don't know.
Yeah, let's be weird together.
So, Alexa. Alexa DeCroix is a good friend of mine, an amazing astrologer. Like she is my go-to person for astrology. I'll be having, I'll meet up with her and I'll tell her things, and she'll be like, "Well, that's because Mars is retrograde or something like this." I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy." She'll get to the bottom of it. Um, and one of the cool things is like I know people who read astrology charts. Alexa, you channel astrology. Let's go into that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that. I think I probably told you the story before, but when I started going to astrology school, and that happened in 2011, um, I started going to astrology school because I was like, I read these astrology books for fun. And I'm like, maybe I should just go to school for it since I seem to enjoy it, like in my free time. And so I started going to the school, and um the teacher would often get a little irritated with me because I wasn't using the method that he wanted me to use to do astrology. And it's not that I don't understand that method, I do. Um but when I would do it, a lot of it came like from more intuition than technical stuff. And what, even one of my fellow students, she said to me, she's like, you're straight up channeling. And I'm like, I am.
Mm.
And I never really realized that. And I think that really what's happening is that I'm already like kind of I became more connected to the planets, and you could say I was connected to them, maybe before this life. But you can feel free to edit that out. And I feel like they speak through me. Like I feel like I connect to them, and it's like I'm a conduit, and then whatever they want the person to know kind of comes through me. I don't think it's coming from me.
That's amazing. And that's what I thought was really cool. And I've actually felt it, guys, too. When I've been around Alexza, for one instance, we were at this full moon sound journey. And after the sound journey, people were coming up to her asking astrology questions. I can't remember if you were actually doing astrology or you were supposed to, but I could feel energetically, I could feel it wasn't just you explaining it, you were channeling, you were
Oh,
a
that's
complete
cool.
conduit. I could feel that, I could tell. I was like, that's not just you just talking, you are, a straight conduit.
And it feels really cool. And this is the thing I started to notice. And this is exciting to me because I don't consider myself an energy person. Like, I'm not as aware of energy as you are, because it's obvious how aware you are of it. And but when I do read astrology for people, I can feel like, and the only way I know to describe it is like it's like a cyclical vibration. Like it's something that's like going woo, woo, woo. And I know that sounds funny, but that's the way it feels.
Yeah.
Is like this circulating energy, and it's not there when I'm not doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's channeling. That's what it feels like. That makes sense.
So
Good.
yeah, I mean, and it feels really good. It feels energizing.
And isn't and how amazing does that feel? So, I mean, you can correlate that to your dharma, your purpose, your gift, your passion, you know? That's that feeling, that's that connection. How does it feel actually? So, as you told me, you told us how it feels, that energy that cycles within you, but how does it feel? Like it feels fulfilling, it feels good, like
Um, it feels like it feels easy for one thing. Like that's kind of interesting because like for me, I'm like I have a bit of a stage fright thing. So for me, it feels really easy. And so I know that that has like a huge meaning to me when something it just does I don't get nervous about it. Um, but it also feels like I'm doing something that's fun to me, but I'm also helping people with a perspective that maybe they don't have. And it feels really good to help people in a way that doesn't feel like I'm having to put like a ton of effort into it. That's the only way I know how to explain it, because it feels like this easy flow between me and the planets and other people.
that makes a lot of sense. And I feel that a lot with things that are like more passion. I mean, passion, things that are more purposeful in my life. Even the difference with working with twin flames and other people, when people kind of find that person that's really, really meant for them, there's this different sort of passion. It feels more at ease. Maybe not all the time, but there is this general like not so much like anxiety or I have to try. There's just this like it's like puzzle pieces connecting. There's this
Mm,
fit. Regardless
yeah.
of how like if it's like the most beautiful and perfect thing in the world, there is just this rightness to it. And it does have this kind of at least generally there's more ease. Not to say
Mm.
if you don't feel like that person's or a certain thing is not meant for you, but it's just I see that as a common theme among many things that are for us. in our life. It's our soul, I think, going, yes, that. And maybe and we come from a paradigm of struggle, of lack, of challenge, and maybe that's kind of the carrot, or at least, the compass pointing north of the paradigm of things with more ease, of more of things that are just right. That yes feeling.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think that it's like sometimes I see it in my mind, like most of my life or like some things in my life, they're like this. They're sort of next to each other, but they're not connected. But I have to like kind of do them and kind of make more effort to make it happen, like, and I'm not saying I'm forcing it, but it does feel like a little bit more like I'm in my head doing it.
Mm,
And
hmm.
and and then with some things I do, it just feels like those things are just lined up, so there's like a lot less effort required.
Yeah.
I don't have to think my way into it, or I don't have to think of what to say next.
I think a lot of this stuff, as we go into the new paradigm, the new age, is a lot easier than we can even imagine or give it any sort of credit for. Like, we're like, it can't be that easy, right? It's like, maybe it can be. It might just actually that just that letting go of that has to be hard or challenging or suck or a son of a bitch. Maybe that's it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I do think that this time that we're in, where it feels kind of chaotic, but then there's these moments of like where it really works, and you're in the right place. I feel like this is like our it's almost like our souls are calibrating with the physical world,
mm-hmm,
in order to create more and more of that alignment,
mm-hmm,
with situations, with energy, with our hearts, with our minds even too.
mm-hmm. And something that I have noticed recently, individually, within my personal community, and even collectively, and it's very much as above, so below, is I have seen myself, felt no, see other people kind of going through a shift, a transformation, dark night, rebirthing, just some sort of transformation. And I see that going through every single person's life to any degree. And I see that in communities, and also we're seeing that collectively. And later on, I want to go into a little bit more of a astrological forecast. But is there anything you want to go into, or you get anything to go into that what I just brought up?
um you mean like as far as people going through these things?
Well, I mean, well, like I said, it's just it's people, it's everyone, everything is going through this.
Yep.
Um, did you want to kind of go into? Is
i've
there
got
anything
i've got big balls.
that's gonna be the intro? Like, it's gonna be a hard cut. You just turn on going, I got big balls. It's gonna say preview underneath.
Yeah,
Um,
I do.
I'll take your word for it. Um, I want to go into that. Um, what I was saying about how I have seen transformation individually, communal, collectively, and not just people, but everything's going through a transformation. Is there anything you have to say about that? Your opinion, what you've experienced, or even just like, I mean, is there anything like astrologically that you can channel or comes to mind?
Yeah, there definitely is. There's so much moving right now. There's so much mutability, and mutability means like the sign that's at the end of a season. So right now we're in Virgo season. That's a mutable earth sign. So that gives you an idea, Jupiter's in Gemini. That's another mutable sign. Um, and we've got like Chiron, going through Aries, that's the beginning of the zodiac, and that's healing like the deepest um wounds of am I allowed to be here? Right? Like that whole thing of like people wondering if what they have to do to prove they're good enough, which they don't have to do anything because they don't have to prove they're good enough. And
Mm,
like this Chiron in Aries is kind of showing people that you can just be yourself, that you don't have to prove your worth. Your worth is intrinsic because you're here. Every single being has intrinsic worth. And from now until uh like April, just for example, April 2025, the energy is very mobile, and that's a good thing. But for some people it's very disconcerting because everything feels like it just keeps shifting, and people, just for me personally, I've noticed that people will cancel things. A lot of people canceled things last week that I was supposed to do with them. And instead of getting frustrated, I think that the best thing to do is just go, that's just not meant to happen right now. And what you'll notice when you do that, if you just let it go, is that something will come in to replace it. Like something else, comes into that space that's actually more necessary than the thing that was canceled. And the thing that was canceled will be done some other time.
yeah.
So I think in many ways we're like surfers. Right now we're like surfing waves of energy, and with it, the divine feminine coming in more and more and coming more to an equal place with the divine masculine, I think that we're learning to become more comfortable with energies coming in that we need, but we don't necessarily know to ask for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm very much about conscious creating. There are other things where I run myself into, I don't know what I need or want sometimes. And that's okay to be open to that. And because there is such an expansion going on. I don't know. I know what you're saying. I don't know how to follow up with that.
I mean, but you can feel it. Like your way of interpreting things is like an energy like sense, right? And I don't really know how I do this, but I know that my sense is it's not really an energy, and it's not like I hear voices, but it's like this stuff like just comes through. And I notice as I let go more and more of like things changing in the moment, and I allow myself to be more in the moment, I feel like things work out better. But it's hard when if you have like a lot of fixed signs, like in your chart, like Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio. Like if you have a lot of that in your chart, we're getting like especially getting a lot of pressure to like be able to kind of flow with things and not hold on to the way we think it should be, or not wanting to change. And that's really important because the fixed signs are the ones at the middle of the season, right? Of each season of the year. And we hold that energy stable. But in this instance, in order to move into the new experience of what we're moving into, which requires shedding layers of energy or conditioning, we have to learn how to like shed parts of ourselves that we maybe thought would be there forever, right? That we depended on. And it
Mm.
can feel scary.
That is a lot of that death. I've been comparing a lot of this
Yeah.
time period at this moment to kind of that section of the tarot where it's, the death card, and I believe it's followed by temperance, and then the tower. The things are falling away. The illusions are revealed from the devil. There's a balance with temperance. Then there's what it was not serving
Hmm.
falling away. like kind of what you said, shedding,
Hmm.
like the when the butterfly sheds the chrysalis, or shed, or just, or when other insects shed their exoskeleton, or when leaves shed their fall. As in the northern hemisphere right now, we're going into fall, autumn. That, and then right after tower comes the star, which is that seed, which is that beacon that of hope. Um, it's interesting. So another thing that I really love about Alexza is, as an astrologer, her amazing knowledge of the zodiac signs. And I'll tell her stuff, and she's like, "Well, you're a Cancer." I'm like, "Oh, okay, validation." Or I'll be like, "This girl is doing something." That's like, "Well, she's a Taurus." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, it's just in her mind, it makes so much sense when anyone does anything, because of their astrology, at least, with their sun sign or big three. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Oh my God.
Go,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, that makes it a lot. I mean, here's the thing is like the reason why I like astrology like so much for stuff like this is because when we have a conflict of energy with people, it's not personal. Like I feel like astrology makes it less personal and more about like energy and mathematical angles, because this is a science. It's a interpretation of astrology is the art part of it, but the angles and the mathematics and the cycles are actually that's a science. That's
Hmm.
the science part of it. Um, and I'm sure there's lots of scientists out there that would disagree with what I'm saying right now. But there's also the idea that, and astronomers would hate this too, is, astronomy, the field of astronomy was created for astrologers because there were astrologers and they needed someone to observe the planets full time and
I can see
like
that.
tell them where everything is. And so using these things to realize like when you have conflicts with people, allowing that allowing yourself to give them space for the energy that they are can really mitigate a lot of feelings of taking stuff personally when there's
Mm.
like any kind of like I don't get this person or they don't get me. We can allow people room to be who they are, which is honestly really perfect for us going into the age of Aquarius because the age of Aquarius requires that we allow people their sovereignty and see everyone as an equal and that everyone's unique gifts are the reason that they're here. And,
Yeah.
in our past age of Pisces that's leaving, there was often the idea of this is the right way and everyone should fit in this way. And
Mm.
that doesn't really work because we end up with things like monoculture and we end up with like religions like that are telling people, well, if you're not like this, then you're doomed.
Hmm.
And none of that is true.
Yeah. And what's also interesting is this came to me when you brought it up, in like when you were talking about how, like, things transforming and flowing is, and then um something you just said is the Hopi prophecy. Do you remember that?
The one about the river,
Yeah.
that one. Do you want me to like say it?
Do you can you quote it?
Oh, absolutely. It's and I'm paraphrasing, of course, like I'm not somebody who's really, I don't have a photographic memory, but the idea is that there was this prophecy with the Hopis that said, at a point in time, the river is going to start to run faster, like the river being like our experience. The river's going to start to run faster and people are going to try to hold on to the shore trying to maintain or trying to hold on to what was, and they're going to get battered against the shore. And the best thing that you can do is to kick off into the middle of the river away from the shore and get into the flow of the water and let it take you where it needs to take you. But see that the thing is that requires the surrender that I'm talking
Mm.
about. But in that surrender, we get the freedom from the prison that we've created, that we're in, that we may not even realize we're in, but we also get the gift of having the faith in the universe to take us where we need to be as well. And that's really beautiful, because then we begin to trust the universe again.
That's beautiful. That's a major theme I've seen for myself and others, and kind of what I was talking about for 2024. I mean, I know others that kind of picked up on this energy, or definitely picked up on this energy more so back in April. Um, but this is definitely that kind of energy we are in right now. Um, and it reminds me of, and this is I love the analogy of movies very, very much. And I know you're a fan of this movie as well, as the first remake, the first part of the remake of Dune, when uh,
Oh, I love it.
Timothy Chalamet, of course, like after all seems lost, and he's in the Thopter with his mom, and he's trying to pilot it through that sandstorm, and it's just like being thrashed around all over the place, and one of the wings breaks, and he kind of has no choice other than just to kind of surrender to it. He pulls the wings in, and he kind of just sits there with his mom, and he kind of there's this total surrender. All is lost, everything they came from, his family, everyone they loved is destroyed, is dead or something. So there's just this moment of surrender, and it actually, the sandstorm blows the vehicle, the Thopter, to a place safely. And I always saw that, and so as I've gone through this dark night of the soul, this transformation, I saw that and realized I am all these parts. I'm not a victim to this storm. I am the storm. I forgot that I am the storm, and this is an extension of myself doing this for me. Like again, like in this analogy, I am the river. And so I'm surrendering to the greater aspects of myself, allowing, more so than what my ego conscious, monkey, reptile, whatever mind, whatever it thinks. Again, there is a co-creation, there is conscious creation, there is manifesting still, but there's this greater level of that requires a trust fall, and I feel like this is kind of that. And so, not to completely give up, not to, I just fuck it, I don't, I'm giving up. No, it is that trust, it is that surrender, that choice. That is a powerful, to choose. Because in that analogy, he could have fought, he could have piloted through, we could hold on to the river. It is that choice. It seems like we have no other choice. We always have a choice. It is always everything we always have. Choosing to believe we don't have a choice is a choice. Everything in our existence we
Right.
choose to create, manifest, all this stuff, it's a choice. And I think it's actually the stronger ones who choose to delegate that are actually stronger than the people who may fight it. Ironically enough.
I mean, isn't that the difference between ego and faith, right? And we're trying to find the harmony between free will and destiny, and I feel like the universe is like, here, let me show you what alignment feels like again, because you went so far away from it, right? But you didn't know you were far away from it. We're in the Kali Yuga, which is like the end of the cycle of the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, going into the Satya Yuga. And it's just a cycle of 26,000 years that we follow, and we've been going through the Kali Yuga, which is like the age where everything is like kind of disseminating back to that mutable energy, where things are coming apart so that a new plant can grow up from under the old plants, right? Or the old forest. And we in the Kali Yuga, I think we got really scared that we couldn't trust the universe, because to us it seemed like everything was not working in our favor, but it is working in our favor. And it's bringing us back to the idea that we can have faith in what's around us, but we can also make our little free will choices within that. And that
Mm,
we are co-creating with the universe, which, we all know that part. But sometimes like learning to co-create doesn't feel comfortable and it doesn't feel easy. It's
yeah,
not like I'm a magician standing at the top of the mountain and I'm like swirling all the energies around.
nice Mickey Mouse reference.
Yeah. And look what
Something
happens to him when he does that.
something you reminded me of that I really like, is because again, like I said, I'm a huge, proponent of conscious creation, manifesting. Um, is there's a big difference between, you know, conscious creation, manifesting from a place of things aren't working out for me, like you said, from a place that things are working out for me. There's that co-creation part. There's this the other side is this little child that's like, oh, I have to force everything in my will because I don't trust things to work out. But then there's this using that flow, using these things in favor, knowing it works out for me, knowing that I am one with everything. I mean, essentially, it's manifesting from a place of unity versus separation, and I feel like that's where we have gone wrong. And I know a lot of people kind of get it mixed up. There is a lot of some people are a little on the fence about, manifesting our realities and all this stuff, but I think it's not that, but so much as a lot of the energy behind it. That felt good.
Yeah. And it's almost like, and I think we forget about this too. And I use this analogy a lot when I explain like higher self is and your earthly self is like, your earthly self is the ground crew. It's down on the ground doing the things on earth, and we could go into like star seeds, and we came here for this time period for a reason to help, to help move through this time and to help hold a certain type of energy of, uh I think we were beings that have already gone through this before. So we come here and we're like, yeah, we've done this before. But then we get down here and we're like, oh yeah, I forgot how hard this is. But the point is that, you know, us being the ground crew, we're down on the ground going, okay, I'm going to go down that road and then I'm going to turn that way. And then you've got your higher self, crew that's like, say they're like, up in a helicopter, or, they're up in they've got a drone up there and they're like,
Mhm.
no, 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 you can't go that way and then turn left because the bridge is out. You've got to go a little bit further and then turn left. And I think that like we don't think of it like the higher self is like this practical thing that we on the ground are just as important as the
Mhm.
higher self. We always like elevate the higher self and say, oh, but it's so much more important than me. No, but
Mhm.
if we want to get the job done, we actually need both equally.
Absolutely. I always like the analogy of it's like a heist movie your higher self is like the guy in the van with all the screens. He's like the circuit breaker, and he's on Overwatch looking at all the different, angles and options. And that I do agree. That's what I feel is a lot of people put a lot of this emphasis to our higher self is, that they know all, but I feel that takes away from us. They know a lot. All they are doing are looking at like these infinite options at every single crossroad decision, whatever. But they don't know that's why we're here. As much as we are getting information from them, we are giving information to them, building this co-creative process. And again, because it's they don't know everything because not everything we are experiencing is created. At every single choice, everything it just blooms. This new, it just refreshes the page of all these new options, infinite things. I mean, I guess there is predestined, pre-planned things that we know, soul agreements, soul contracts, of course. But there's so many things, and there's many ways to get there too. There's many ways for them to happen. There's just our human selves cannot comprehend the infinitesimal or near infinite. I believe. I don't believe it's infinite. I believe it's near infinite. It's a huge number or something. And
Yeah.
but they need us again on the ground to be able to be like what's down there, and every single time they're just like refreshed with all these new things, and they can give us You know, because it's up to us, not up to them. It's up to us. They don't have the answers as much as
Hmm.
they're like in a crow's nest on a ship. They see things we don't.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love that.
But don't you find it interesting? Like what popped into my head while you were saying that was that your higher self is probably like there saying, you know, looking at you with such compassion and saying, silly you don't realize how important you are. Like we need you
Yeah,
as much as you need us. And the higher self is just like, don't put us on a pedestal. You're just as important. And I love this idea.
yeah. I love that idea too. I know, and I know it freaks a lot of people out to think like because they put a lot of trust and faith that like they don't know as much as what's going on. But I don't. It's like like the angels or God or whatever doesn't know as much, and they're not as omniscient as we would have you know assumed or hoped. But I think at least in the higher self perspective, that's okay. That's beautiful, and that's part of the co-creative process again.
And somebody just told me last night, and for some reason, like this subject has come up a couple of times with different people, and it's a Vedic theory, or a Vedic story that Vishnu, was like in the universe and like the maintainer and a god and everything, and he was bored, and so he split himself into these infinite number of pieces to experience himself. And that's what we are, is these little pieces that he split himself into to experience himself. Because you can't know yourself if you're solitary by yourself,
Hmm.
right? You can't know you're good, or you can't know you're kind, or you can't know you're, funny, or whatever, an infinite number of things without an other. And I think this is really beautiful. Again, it makes everyone important. Everybody's essential.
As we're all one, a flower is very, very beautiful, but it takes me to observe the flower and appreciate its beauty for it to have any, sort of actualization of beauty. I mean, it's beautiful on its own, of course, but I am the flower. The flower is also me. That on the macro, we're all one. We're the drop of water, or we're the ocean and the drop of water. But to have that kind of reflection,
Yeah.
counterpoints meet each other in that gives such expansion. You know, gives such I think structure or such substance to the universe, and that's beautiful. You went into how back when you were going to astrology school, what made you get into astrology?
Um, it's not the most it wasn't out of like beauty, it was more out of pain. Um, but the funny thing is like I actually was like reading like little horoscope things like way back, like when I was in my 20s. And when my mom passed away when she was like 20, when I was 27, and I was really like confused about what the nature of God was and what the nature of the universe was. I didn't understand, because my mother was a really good person, who genuinely brought joy and beauty to the world. And so I was kind of like, I got kind of mad, I was kind of pissed off at God. And I didn't understand why good people would go away so early, and other people who weren't maybe so nice or didn't put so many good things in the world would stick around. And then that's when I got more into it, because I wanted to understand why things happen the way they do.
Hmm.
And I maybe I wanted some form of like control, but I don't know if it was control or if it was more just a desire to understand the way things work. And I believe in a previous life I had a lot of contact with the planets and with astrology itself. So I guess I was naturally drawn to it again. And it started out with just reading books and looking at my own chart. And eventually it led to, being more into theory, and then, wanting to understand other people's charts, and then, starting to read for other people, and then eventually that led to, going to school for it. Um, and still to this day, like, astrology is such a vast field that I could just keep learning things forever. You almost have to pick an area, to sort of work with, because it's such a huge field
Hmm.
of study.
I know sometimes when you send me YouTube videos about like really advanced astrologers that you subscribe to, I'm just like, woof, I don't have 2 hours right now.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a couple of ones that I listen to that, like the monthly podcast is like, you know, 3 hours, 4 hours,
Mhm.
and shout out to Chris Brennan, for the astrology podcast, and Austin Coppock. I'm just going to say that because they're very like in depth,
Mhm.
of the month, so, but there's many people to listen to. There's like intuitive astrologers, there's harmonic astrologers, there's evolutionary astrologers, and they all offer a perspective, and you just have to go looking, and you'll find the thing that you're looking for,
Mhm.
right? Your energy will magnetize that thing to you, like the information that you need. And I do think it's good for individual people, even if you don't want to become an astrologer, to understand how to go to a chart, how to look at your chart, how to understand where your Mars is, or where Mars is currently, because then you can understand the area of life that's going to be affected by something. And it's very empowering, because then you can tell you can realize, oh, it's not just this stuff is happening to me, this is happening to other people too.
Mhm.
And I feel like it helps to know that it's not personal, but that you can make it personal for yourself to figure out how to empower yourself and use it as a tool. Instead of being a victim from the outside in, you're empowering yourself from the inside out
Mhm.
to act in your own best interest, and to work with that planet, and start to consider it as another being that you're communicating with. And
Mm.
I think that's really important, because that's a totally different outlook than going, the planets are making me do this.
Yeah.
Nobody can make you do anything.
Yes. Another, I mean, you brought it up again, was not taking things personally. And that's
Mm-mm.
another part of that Hopi prophecy, is like the moment we start to take things personally, our journey comes to a halt, which I believe is an actual. I have it. I have the quote on my phone, or a slide.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to read it. I mean, or
Let's,
add it in here,
you want to
you
go?
know. Mhm.
To my fellow swimmers, here is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those that will be afraid, who will try to hold on to the shore. They are being torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know that the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, and keep our heads above water. And I say, see who is there with you, and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration, for we are the ones we have been waiting for. From the elders of the Hopi Nation, Arizona, June 8th, 2000.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so, and I'm reminded of how beautiful it is, because I always paraphrase it to a lot of people. And it's nice to hear like the full,
Yeah.
um, the full, words.
Yeah, the script.
So meaningful.
Do you have a website where people can reach you, or even type in like a promo code?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a website. I don't have a promo code, but maybe I can learn how to do that. I'm not, I'm lazy. I'm technologically lazy. I'm not technologically like unskilled. So it really is a matter of me just getting down and doing it. But I do have a website. It's Soulstar, SOULSTAR, Astro, ASTRO.com.
Cool. Do you want to give us a little taste, or do you want to like do like a little astrology reading generally right now? Just kind of give us a little taste of what you.
I mean, I can talk about some stuff that's like happening. I brought up a chart like for today, but I don't know if that's like something you want to do or if maybe we want to talk about some of the things that are coming up. You know, like we just had a Virgo new moon. Um that's kind of interesting. We're getting ready to have a Pisces eclipse,
Mhm.
a lunar eclipse, I think.
Equinox.
Yeah, we're gonna have equinox, which is, you know, Libra. We're gonna have a big emphasis on Libra coming up. And that Libra, you know, that emphasis on Libra is about, you know, finding the balance between where my boundaries are, where someone else's boundaries are in relationships. How much am I giving? How much am I receiving? That's a huge like issue right now. Like
Mhm.
going into the age of Aquarius, but right now Pluto is in Capricorn. It's retrograded back and it's going to go forward back into Aquarius. And Aquarius is the collective, but it's also your unique contribution to the collective. And it's also the collective revering you for your contribution. So and it's again, I said this earlier, equality, um, sovereignty, what's the other word? Decentralization of everything. Right. So it's so many choices of, you know, it could be many choices of the internet, like the type of it, maybe there's not going to be one internet. Um, no, not having centralized banking, choosing like your own banking system, your money system, your social media system. Like it's not going to be these big, you know, like one place to get the, you know, like it's not going to be the one place, the one thing.
Monopolies.
Yeah, and so there's going to be less control. There's not going to be controlling other people anymore or controlling groups of people. Um, and so, you know, while Pluto is going back into Capricorn, you might have noticed the change of the energy. It was just a few days ago. And it's going to be from now until the middle of November. And it's like at the last degrees of Capricorn, and that's going to be like Pluto is about transformation, death and rebirth, and we're letting old parts of our structure, we're going to let them come apart, right? We're going to let them go. We don't need that. It's like having training wheels on a bike when you don't need them anymore. They're just going to slow you down. And so we're going through that, and this is a really important thing to be aware of for these next few months because again the Pluto energy slows down. It's kind of it's a little bit grinding these things, and what I mean by that is it's, you know, helping us to feel where there's conflictual physical structures so that we can make them less conflictual and more flowy, so that when we do go into Aquarius for the next 20 years that we're going to be able to really understand what our unique contribution is, right? Instead of what we've been told our contribution should be as a man, as a woman, as a, you know, as a, this demographic or that, you know, class or, you know, just all these like labels that we have. And we're really jettisoning those labels. And this is our last part of going through the old structure to go, oh yeah, I don't need that anymore. Oh, I don't need that relationship anymore. That relationship is actually karmically finished. You know, and then we have Mars in Cancer because it's going to go through Cancer for 6 months because there's a retrograde of Mars. And Mars does not like to be in Cancer. And that's the whole interesting part is that, you know, Mars is like physical energy to move forward, the passion to like start things, make things happen. And in Cancer, it's about, our divine feminine within us. How do we feel nurtured? How do we feel safe? What makes us feel secure? What is home to us? And we get to decide over 6 months what that is. And that's why it's such a long period of time, is so we get that time to go, how do I nurture myself? How do I make a home for myself? What does that feel like? When do I feel loved by others? When do I feel nurtured by others? How do I nurture people? Mother wounds, and it might not even be mother wounds. It might be mothering. Like if you're a mother, it might be, how was my relationship to my mother? Can I reinvent that relationship to my mother? Can I rewrite my story? Our mother, the earth, there's another part of mothering. How am I nurtured, and how do I feel safe with Mother Earth, on Mother Earth? How do I nurture and care for her? Sometimes I wonder if people never ask, or maybe a lot of people don't ask their mother, like, how are you? We always forget, because we always want to get the nurturing from our mother. But maybe, we could ask more often, of our own mothers, but also of the earth. How are you? What do you need? What can I give you? Right? How can I nurture you? You're always nurturing us. How can I do that for you? And then, we have these eclipses coming up, and I wish I had written down the degrees and all that stuff, but we do have an eclipse in Pisces coming up. And, Pisces is the everything, the great all, the whole thing, the everything that we're contained in. But also contained in that Pisces energy is things like addiction, codependency, places of confinement, where we felt confined. How do we find God or goddess within us? It's always been there, but how do we connect to that and have that knowing all the time as we operate in the world, that I am a part of God, and I act and God acts in my behalf, and I act in God or goddess's behalf. How do we carry ourselves in the world as a divine being? How would we be different when we do that? Because if we remembered that we were a god or goddess or both all the time, wouldn't we act differently in the world? Like when somebody cuts me off in traffic, wouldn't I just go like, it doesn't matter? That, and live in that bigger picture. Live in that I'm in harmony with all things, and all things are in harmony with me. I am flowing through God or goddess, and God or goddess is flowing through me all the time. And I think that, that's why we're going through all this stuff. So if you're having a hard time right now, or things are falling away, or people around you that drastic things have happened to, and I have 2 particular friends right now that drastic things have happened to them. And it's knowing that this is all part of the great shedding of our old selves, and maybe some of the weight we've been carrying that isn't ours to carry. But we've been carrying it thinking that it's our responsibility. And then also knowing some of what is our responsibility and allowing ourselves to have fun with it. To like be at play within the earthly plane, to be at play with God and goddess, to be in this playful creation with spirit, instead of thinking that we're being like punished or it's personal, because it's not. Because think about it. if you were a god or you were a goddess or everything was contained within you, wouldn't you want all your little parts to do really well? You'd want them all to do really well, and you'd be watching them going, "Oh my God, way to go. You did. Look at that. I didn't even think of that. You're creating these things that I couldn't even think of." And I think that's really beautiful. And I think that it's available to all of us. It doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter who you've been. It doesn't matter what you think is possible, because I can promise you that there's so much more possible than even you can imagine. And anything that you can imagine or dream of in your mind already exists in the energy world, which means it's already possible.
Wow. Let her cook. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, yes to everything you said. That was amazing. That was you in the flow. You were you were in the sauce there. I love
I mean,
that. I
you
mean,
know, and this is where I know that I believe in everybody's beauty and abilities. Like, I believe that we all are meant to shine. And I just, we're all, moving toward all the beauty and all the things that we can imagine. All of those things are absolutely possible. And here's the thing, we can operate from a place of not only possibility, but probability.
mm, that was, yeah, I love that probability. That feels really good. Everything you said, like a hell fuck yes to everything you said. Um,
Yay.
so that's a little example of how Alexa channels. She gets into it. Alexa, how the
What?
hell can we find you?
Um, well, you can find me at my website. It's a very simple website because I've been technologically lazy the past few years. And I think it's a little bit of also just to put this out there, a little bit of fear of being seen. I've always had that, because I have like a Pisces moon in the eighth house, and and it's conjunct Saturn, and that's a little bit of like, push pull. Like, I really want to be seen and I really want to merge with people, but I'm also like really afraid to be seen. So like I have a little bit of that going on, but my website is soulstarastro.com. So it's SOULSTARASTRO.com. And here's the funny thing, when I named it, um I was doing a public event with someone, and I needed to come up with a name of my astrology thing really quick. And one of my friends had one that was called like Spirit Star. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool name. And I was like, what about Soul Star? And then I found out like way later on that the Soul Star is the eighth
Hmm.
chakra,
Yep.
right? And I did not know that at the time when I named it. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Okay, universe, that's pretty cool that you sent me that name.
Yeah. Channeling through your soul star chakra.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, totally.
And you do one-on-one readings.
Yeah, and I don't do every kind of reading. Like I don't I think I'm the best at natal readings, um, composite readings, like where you would take your chart and someone else's chart and put them together, like to see if you have like what your purpose or what your energy is together. And I do really well with like transit readings.
Hmm.
I'm still learning some other things, and I'll probably make these as offerings later. But for now, those are my strongest. readings, and a lot of times I throw some stuff in that things I'm learning. And I will say that when I do natal reading or any of my readings, I do use a lot of extra points. Like I use asteroids and trans Neptunian objects and Kuiper belt objects, and those are like things that are further out than our particular solar system.
Hmm.
And those are really helpful because they help define or give you finer points on facets of the divine feminine, and also facets of the divine masculine. And you would see it when I do it. Like if when I bring up a chart, it's like got a lot more things on it than you would normally see, like just the nine planets, or the actually the seven planets and the sun and the moon. Um, and so I feel like it gives me like a lot of extra material to describe things even more precisely.
And so if I wanted a session with you, like, have my birth dates, do we need to know our, like, location and time of birth? Is that going to help as
Yeah,
well?
I mean, it's going to help a lot. It's going to make it a lot more accurate. I can do a reading without a birth time, or we could try to rectify it. But it's definitely way more accurate because then we get to use the houses, and then we're sure, of like where the ascendant is, where the descendant is, where the midheaven is. All of those things are really important.
Yeah. So everybody, if you don't know, maybe give your mom a call. Maybe, yeah, be like,
Yeah.
hey mom, how are you doing? By the way, do you still have my
Yeah.
birth certificate? So if
Yeah,
you guys
absolutely.
want a personal reading, or one-on-one reading, or any of the offers, Alexa even does tarot. I'm gonna link all her stuff below. Uh, Definitely check her out. She's my astrologer for sure. I'd go to her. I mean, I just call her up, be like, "What's going on?" She's like, "You're Mars." I'm like, "Oh, okay." No, so it's very, very helpful. It's been very life-changing at moments too. So thank you, Alexa, for being here and sharing your gifts.
Thank you. I love helping people reframe what they've been assuming with astrology,
A bit,
because I can change some of those assumptions.
and I intend you do that.
Thank you for having me
You're
here.
welcome. Thank you for being here. And thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next time. MC Warrior the Light out.